NFL players are tough. They go out and compete in some horrid weather conditions. But these are the craziest weather games in NFL history.
I'm clearing off this stuff with a snow shovel. It's hard to imagine. That last punt dropped, and it just absolutely got washed in the snow.
Let's start things off with the 1982 AFC Championship game between the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. The game was an absolute mudbath, but unlike other bad weather games, this one was mucked up deliberately. The Dolphins left the field exposed during heavy rainfall, resulting in the field turning into a massive pool of muddy swamp. The Dolphins wanted to slow down the speedy Jets, and the strategy worked perfectly. The game remained scoreless all the way until the third quarter. Dolphins linebacker A.J. Due caught 3 interceptions in the game and brought one back for a touchdown. The final score was 14-0 for Miami. Muck and sludge definitely isn't ideal, but nothing is worse than a good old freezing blizzard. In 2007, the Buffalo Bills and Cleveland Browns played in a crazy game due to the weather. Both teams were forced to battle through a relentless blizzard that blanketed the field in snow and severely hindered visibility. Neither offense could move the ball for the life of them. Heck, the quarterbacks could barely even see their own receivers. Mother Nature really dropped a big-ass deuce that day. When it was all said and done, the Browns shut the Bills out 8-0.
And the Cleveland Browns will pick up their 9th win.
Clearly, poor weather conditions favor the defense. Next up is another example to prove it. In 2007, the Dolphins and Steelers matched up for an epic Monday Night Football showdown at Heinz Field. The rain was so powerful throughout the entire match that you could have watched, rinsed, and repeated in it. Guys were slipping and sliding left, right, and center. One punt sunk straight into the muck without even bouncing. Eventually, Jeff Reed kicked a game-winning field goal with just 17 seconds remaining. The game ended with an astonishingly low final score of 3-0, the lowest scoring game in Monday Night Football history.
And it looks like it's on a tee. Boy, if you tee the ball up.
The Steel Curtain truly was one of the greatest defenses in history. It's no surprise the Dolphins couldn't score on them. But what is surprising is that you haven't subscribed to our channel yet. Go ahead, smash that thumbs up and give us a follow, so we can tell you more historical NFL stories like the Mud Bowl of 1977. In 1977, a playoff game between the Los Angeles Rams and Minnesota Vikings was nicknamed the Mud Bowl due to the extreme field conditions. The game was played in Los Angeles, a city famed for its great weather. However, there was an unexpected downpour of rain that turned the field into muddy slop. Vikings coach Bud Grant wisely had quarterback Bob Lee pass early in the game before the field deteriorated into a mess. The move paid off as the Vikings managed to secure a 14-7 victory. While some players get remembered for their heroics, others are remembered for their downfalls. Due to the fact that he likely murdered his ex-wife and Ron Goldman, people often forget that O.J. Simpson was one of the all-time great NFL running backs. And on December 16, 1973, in a cold and snowy game against the New York Jets, O.J. achieved a historic milestone by becoming the first player in NFL history to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season. He rushed for over 200 yards to accomplish the feat in some brutal conditions. Unfortunately, nowadays, when people discuss O.J. Simpson, his NFL career isn't the first thing that comes to mind. O.J. wasn't the only running back who excelled in harsh conditions. In 1979, a game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Tampa Bay Buccaneers is remembered for featuring one of the heaviest rainfalls ever during an NFL game. A torrential downpour drenched the Tampa area on game day. The Bucs were in a must-win situation to secure their first ever playoff berth. Despite the heavy rain, running back Ricky Bell gained 137 yards on the ground. Still, neither team could find the end zone. Eventually, the Buccaneers put together a drive that resulted in a short field goal by Neil O'Donoghue, securing a 3-0 victory. Sometimes NFL teams struggle to move the ball an inch, but up next we feature a crazy game where a player scored an epic touchdown. In 2005, the Chicago Bears and San Francisco 49ers played in extreme weather conditions. Gusty crosswinds reached up to 28 miles per hour, making passing and kicking field goals extremely challenging. Despite the harsh conditions, the 49ers attempted a 52-yard field goal as time expired in the first half. However, the kick got caught in the powerful wind, leading to a miraculous catch by the Bears' Nathan Vasher deep in their end zone. Vasher then took the ball all the way back to the house for a 108-yard touchdown return. Vasher's touchdown ended the first half in dramatic fashion. At the time, it set a record for the longest touchdown in NFL history. The Bears ultimately won the game 17-9. Nathan Vasher sure made a great play in 05, but his career pales in comparison to Brett Favre. In the 2008 playoffs, the Green Bay Packers clashed with the Seattle Seahawks during Brett Favre's last season in Green Bay. And the game was played in cold and snowy temperature at Lambeau Field. The Packers' offensive firepower was on full display as they scored touchdowns in 6 consecutive possessions. They ended up winning 42-20.
Brett Favre and the Green Bay Packers are on their way to the NFC Championship game.
And Favre looked like a happy kid on the field, throwing snowballs at his teammates as the clock winded down. While Brett Favre had an outstanding career, he isn't the GOAT. That title belongs to Tom Brady. But up next, we are going to take a look at a game that included a polarizing call that led to his first Super Bowl. The Tuck Rule game in the 2002 AFC playoffs goes down in NFL history for its controversial and game-changing moment. The New England Patriots faced the Oakland Raiders in harsh and snowy conditions. With a 13-10 lead and only 1:43 remaining, it seemed the Raiders had sealed the victory when Charles Woodson forced a fumble by knocking the ball out of Tom Brady's cold and slippery hands. But wait. Officials called the little-known Tuck Rule, ruling that Brady's motion constituted a pass, not a fumble. It was a new rule that was being implemented into the NFL, but no one expected it to get called in such a massive moment. This decision allowed the Patriots to tie the game with a field goal and eventually win in overtime, marking the beginning of their dynasty. Snow, rain, mud, you think you've seen it all? Well, one game in 1988 was bizarre on a whole other level. The 1988 NFC Divisional Playoff game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Chicago Bears is remembered as one of the strangest weather games in NFL history. The day began with unreasonably warm and sunny conditions, but during the second half, a dense fog rolled into the stadium. The fog was so thick that fans in attendance had to rely on the referee's announcements to understand the game's progress since no one could see a damn thing. Surprisingly, both coaches agreed to continue playing despite the conditions. And Eagles quarterback Randall Cunningham must have X-ray supervision or something, cause he somehow managed to throw for over 400 yards and the Eagles won the game. No matter the weather, real superstars still find a way to perform. And Ken Anderson was a real superstar in his prime. The 1981 AFC Championship game between the San Diego Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals is infamous for being one of the coldest games in NFL history. The game time temperature was a bone-chilling -9 degrees with a wind chill factor of -59 degrees. The extreme cold significantly impacted the Chargers, particularly quarterback Dan Fouts, whose passes struggled to maintain accuracy in the frigid conditions. Ken Anderson, the Bengals MVP quarterback, grew up in the windy state of Illinois and was renowned for excelling in bad weather. He appeared unaffected and played like it was a warm day, leading the Bengals to victory. Even great players can use a little help, especially in brutal weather conditions. The snowplow game in 1982 is still remembered today due to its extreme weather conditions. With a bone-chilling 20-degree temperature, heavy snowfall, and gusts reaching up to 30 miles per hour, the game between the Dolphins and Patriots was an absolute grind. After a long battle, a snowplow came onto the field to pave a path for a game-winning field goal attempt. With the path cleared, Patriots kicker John Smith managed to kick a 33-yard field goal late in the fourth quarter, securing a 3-0 victory for his team. Some of these games sure had some crazy weather, but up next we need to look at another historically cold NFL game. In 1985 at Lambeau Field, the Green Bay Packers played against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game remembered as the Snow Bowl. Heavy snowfall transformed the field into a winter wonderland. Less than 20,000 fans were bold enough to endure the harsh climate, and more than 36,000 fans didn't show up. It was the lowest attendance in Packers history. Before and during the game, a total of 16 to 17 inches of snow fell, making visibility challenging. Buccaneers quarterback Steve Young struggled, throwing for just 65 yards, partly because the Bucs wore white uniforms that blended with the falling snow. The Packers ultimately prevailed with a 21-0 victory in this memorable snowy showdown. Green Bay often gets cold ones, but one time Dallas got hit with some historically bad weather in a Thanksgiving matchup. The Thanksgiving game in 1993 hit lows of 23 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest Thanksgiving ever in Dallas, Texas. But still, the Dallas Cowboys and Miami Dolphins played a classic game. The game is most famous for one memorable blunder involving Cowboys defensive lineman Leon Lett. I guess Lett's brain was a little numb due to the cold weather. With the Cowboys clinging to a 14-13 lead and just seconds left in the game, Miami's Pete Stoyanovich attempted a 40-yard field goal that was blocked, seemingly securing a win for Dallas. NBC's Dick Enberg confidently announced the Cowboys' victory, but for no apparent reason, Leon Lett slid toward the ball and touched it. This allowed the Dolphins to recover the ball and set up for a successful field goal, resulting in a shocking 16-14 victory for Miami.
Now someone touches the football here. Watch what happens. It's Leon.
And last but not least, we have the most famous bad weather game in NFL history, the Ice Bowl. One of the most iconic games in football history is the Ice Bowl of 1967. In 1967, the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys matched up in the NFL championship game. The reason this game is so famous is largely due to the weather conditions. The game took place in frickin' freezing conditions with a bone-chilling minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit and a wind chill of minus 48 degrees. But outside of the weather, this game was already a matchup between two historical rivals with legendary coaches Vince Lombardi and Tom Landry leading the way. Lambeau Field's turf heating system malfunctioned before kickoff, resulting in rock-hard playing conditions. It was so cold that referee Norm Schachter's metal whistle froze to his lips, leading officials to call plays and penalties vocally. Despite the extreme cold, quarterback Bart Starr's memorable QB sneak behind the block secured a 21-17 victory for the Packers. There you have it. Those were the craziest weather games in NFL history. If you liked this video, please don't forget to smash the thumbs up and subscribe. Also, click on one of the links above to watch more of our NFL videos.